Hello there, and welcome along to a special bonus episode of the Gardener Ben podcast. Just yesterday, my husband Mark and I were lucky enough to spend a really beautiful day at the BBC Gardeners World Spring Fair, which is held at Beaulieu Motor Museum and sponsored by Hilliers Garden Centres. A rare opportunity for us to get out of the house together and for me to enjoy and immerse myself in the horticultural world. A rare opportunity to walk around some really lovely show gardens and concepts designed by a multitude of different people and do some great horticultural shopping with some very specific plants available for sale and of course sample some really tasty food. Now, while I was at the show, I wanted to take the opportunity to capture some media for you, and I would like to introduce you to 4 very special guests who were all very generous with their time at the show, although they were super busy, to talk to me a little bit about their gardens, how they were designed, and the plants they've used within their schemes. First up is David Long Garden Designs. Now, David lives just up the road from me here in Fordingbridge on the outskirts of the New Forest and designed the garden called the Theatre of Dreams. He's walked away from this year's show with a Platinum and Best in Show garden, which really just goes to prove how moving and beautiful the garden concept was. It's all about taking a leap of faith, stepping out of the shadows and into the light, a theatrical piece which really needs to be enjoyed from within the garden itself. I was lucky enough to be invited up onto the stand to talk to David and about the concept of creating, and it was a really moving experience with the large structure behind me and the planted audience laid out in front of me. A palette of white, cool greens and creams looking very friendly and welcoming back at you from the stage. This garden was all about taking centre stage, and I'm really pleased to hear that this particular concept is going to be moved to a local primary school where it will be enjoyed for many years to come. Well, I'm here with David at the BBC Gardens Solent Fair. David, you've just walked off with the Platinum Award for your show garden. It is absolutely stunning. Do you want to talk me through a little bit about the concept?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's called the Theatre of Dreams, and it's all about backing yourself and taking that leap of faith. So the start of the garden has got quite an imposing large archway, which is meant to give you that some sense of enclosure and probably quite daunting to walk out onto stage. So
now the angles of this particular piece, just to describe it to the people listening, the angles on this must have taken you ages to work out. There's a lot of cuts in those timbers.
Oh, there really is. Yeah, it's laid out on my lawn for a few weeks, and I have an oversized protractor to get all the angles bang on.
Like one you'd use for paving.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it took a while to get together, and I wanted to make sure I had a whole day on just the arch, fabricating it, ready for the show, because I wanted to make that is the statement piece. It really does call the eye. I just want to describe as well to the people listening.
We're not just talking about upright posts, we're talking about the actual supports of the posts are also angled and curved at the same time. So there is an awful lot of angle work going on, very clever, very intricate. Yeah. So this is your entrance into the garden, and then what's after that?
So you walk through the archway and you end up on the stage itself, and in front of you I've used some raised sleepers on the perimeter of the garden to bank up the planting in front of you. So it's essentially the green multi-textured planting in front of you is the auditorium of green foliage faces and sort of woodland shade-loving planting as well. So I've gone for a monochrome palette to really make the textures and leaf shapes pop within the border.
And again, I know obviously it's May and it's obviously we're sort of early summer, late spring, but again the palette is very fresh. I see you've used some Solomon's teal and some aqua just lots of hostas. It feels fresh and it feels cool and yeah, really lovely. It's very nice. And talk me through this gentleman here. Oh, is this you taking your standing ovation? Or?
It is me, because this is all part of my journey. This is my leap of faith, and just walking out and put myself out there. But it's for anyone, it's anyone that's whatever they're doing in their life, it could be with work or with family. It's just backing yourself and pushing yourself to do a bit more, or that decision you're not quite sure about making. Just actually go and do it. Really, put yourself out there. So this is the girl's named him Will. I had some friends helping me on Wednesday with some planting. He's actually called the Conductor, a very talented man who's up in Cheltenham, Chris Oakey. he makes these fantastic willow structures. So this is one called the Conductor. He was at Malvern last year. I contacted Chris. Luckily enough, he was still available, so Chris has lent him to me for the show.
And he stood here, the Conductor, with roses at his feet, receiving his standing ovation after his performance.
Exactly.
So now obviously I'm a gardener as well. I'm a professional gardener. Obviously, you're more of a garden designer. For me, which part of the process do you enjoy most? Do you enjoy the design and the concept, or do you enjoy more the practical laying out of the plants and the actual building of things?
It's really tricky because it's one of those. I really do enjoy all parts of the process. Even from the early stages, walking into a garden, making a feel for the space, getting to know the clients and what they want from the garden. But I think if I had to pick one, it would be back to my roots and planting the garden. That's where it comes to life. I love all the building parts of it, because years ago I had my own landscaping firm. I used to build gardens, but really for me, getting in amongst the planting, bringing it to life and feeding colour into the garden is what makes it work. And so that's my favourite.
Very much the same as me. I mean, I just if I can get dirty and if I can get with the plants, and I find
a happy place.
Well, very much so. But again, this kind of media works really nice for me. Being really heavily dyslexic and neurospicy, that physically drawing and physically writing becomes really, really hard. And I find the barrier of sitting in front of a piece of paper and trying to sketch. My scaling is terrible. I mean, it's like drawing like a person with huge feet and huge hands as a 5-year-old, and it's like, no, that doesn't work. Even if I try to fit it into a space. So, and what's next for you? I mean, where's this garden heading off to next? Are you reusing this, or is it being repurposed somewhere else?
It is. So the main structural features, so the large archway, the stage, and the sleepers that we use for the retaining structure here, all going to a primary school in the New Forest, not far from me. Actually close to you as well, just at the road, Bremer.
Yes, okay. So just literally 3 minutes from me.
Yeah, so they've got a garden project they're doing at the moment, and we're incorporating the stage and the theatre for their garden. So a lot of the planting will be used.
That's a really nice concept. Hopefully the children will actually get to use it and perform on it themselves.
I'm sure. Yeah, well, I've spoken to the staff and they've already said they have poetry recitals and dancing and all kinds of things that they do anyway. So having the stage to do it on,
I can very much see that they're going to be performing a Midsummer's Night Dream on here in absolutely no time.
As long as I get a free ticket, that's right.
Well, huge congratulations on your winners. It really is beautiful. The planting is absolutely stunning. I love the corten steel bowl with the fresh green and the ferns and the Solomon seal. Grey hops, it's just really, really lovely. It all pops, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye. Walking around the show, I eavesdropped on a conversation with a lovely young lady talking to a member of the public about her garden design. Her passion and exuberance for the subject shone through, and I simply had to talk to her. So now I would like to introduce you to Una from Kingstonwood College. Now, she didn't design or build this garden all on her own. She's part of 4 students who have put together this garden concept. And I'm sure each and every one of them has a very exciting career in horticulture ahead of them. Now, I've said time and time again that I believe one of the largest problems facing the horticulture industry as a general rule is the severe lack of young people finding their way into the field and creating themselves a long-term future and career. So seeing young people excited about the subject was an absolute joy. The garden concept focused around a round path laid in grey engineering bricks and very cleverly inlaid with rounds of hazel, which gave it a really wonderful and interesting texture. Once again planted with a multitude of plants, everything from mature silver birch to juvenile birch, giving the feeling of a woodland setting. Viburnum opulus and the wedding cake tree were also used, giving a cool palette of white, creams and heavy variegation. As you listen to Una talk, I'm sure you're going to pick up on the sheer fact that her face simply lights up when talking about gardening. Now I'm still at the BBC Gardeners World Fair and I'm here with Una from Kingstonwood College in her beautifully designed garden. Congratulations, it is absolutely stunning. It's a gold award by looks of things.
Yes, yeah.
For your first time out in garden designing, that's an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, thank you.
Do you want to talk me about a little bit about the garden? Because we're stood on a really, really beautiful path, which seems to be constructed of
Got
a
hazel,
brick,
hazel and granite sets. This took me about 6 hours to build with one of my classmates, Maddie, who sat here.
Well done, Maddie. It's beautiful.
We wanted to make a calm place, a little tranquil place for somebody that you can go around, people can come around and see and think, oh, we want this in our garden. Give some inspiration to the public. The part of the hazel that we've got for a centrepiece called Aperture as well, which is what the garden's named after. We wanted to take inspiration from a naturalist photographer called Andrew Goldsworthy, and so we've created a middle piece inspired by him, so you could walk around the garden.
Okay, it turns. Look at that. That's amazing. Yeah.
So we wanted to.
So this is almost like a sun window, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just to describe it to the people listening, it's actually a round circle in the middle, like almost like a selfie hole. Looks like a sun.
It looks like a mirror.
Looks like a sun. There's some gold detailing on its hazel, and it kind of looks like a large sun, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of pieces of his that he's taken what his surroundings are, used materials. So we've used hazel for this as well.
Yeah, which I'm a huge fan of in the garden because it's locally sourced, it's sustainable.
Yeah.
And cheap.
Yes,
really
which is what we would like to hear.
Yeah.
And we've crafted it together on a rotating platform, so you can take it around the garden. As you move around the garden, you can focus on different parts of planting. We've tried to use textures, colours, light and shade to show, really bring the art through in the planting. We focus on the planting a lot.
Yeah.
So we've got a woodland glade style.
Which all feels really fresh and soft and really cool, and I've noticed some of the grasses are moving. It's got a really nice sort of feel of movement to it.
Yeah, so we've brought it around. We've got some
fabulous hostas.
Yeah. We've got some ferns, some viburnums, some geums. That we just wanted to bring colour, bring light, and then we've used a mix of silver birches, some mature ones and some saplings.
Yeah, I noticed you've got several different sizes. Yeah.
Because obviously in the woodland, the saplings would drop and then go close. So we wanted to make it like it was close and cosy, but not too sheltered.
Well, it feels very, very intimate. It feels very enveloping. It feels very soft and really, really lovely. It really is quite beautiful. And obviously, other plants you've got out at the moment, you've got some viburnum oculus, which is the snowball tree looking really, really lovely. A wedding cake tree, am I right in correcting?
Yes, you are.
We'll go around and have a look at that one. Again, that colour picking up really, really nicely with the sambucus next to it.
Yeah.
Some hazel as well, so it looks really, really pleasant. So this is a collaboration between, is that 4 of you?
Yeah, so there's 4 of us. It's me, and then I've got Maddie, Finn and Chris. Finn was more in the planting, he was part of the planting design. I drew up the main landscaping part, and then Maddie and Chris helped with the build. And we all just kind of pitched
Well
in.
done. Hats off to you, because when it comes to design, I've been doing this a very, very long time, and I cannot, for toffee, put pen to paper and draw anything to scale. Walk me around the garden, I'm more than happy to create anything. I'm a huge plantsman, but when it comes to drawing things, this would have been, can you imagine, I've said this to David a second ago, imagine drawing a person as a child, or a cow, and they've got huge udders and a huge head and their little tiny legs. That's the kind of way I design gardens. You can't make any more sense of it.
Well, this is beautifully done. This is the first design we've ever put into practical, because obviously with the course I'm doing, you do different parts of everything. So I really fell in love with it because you've got a bit of construction, a bit of botany, and then you've got a bit of design. And I'm doing drawings for assignments and things, but I've never actually physically built one. So it's been a wonderful experience to take it into practical and actually get the response from the public, which has been lovely, and then also just experience building it, coming over problems we've had or planting that we need to change, and like a real experience. It's been lovely.
It's obviously it's all well and good designing it and drawing it in a classroom, but when it actually comes to physically,
it's a whole different experience.
Some things are available, some things aren't. You're going to the nursery expecting your genes to be in full flower and they're tiny, and you've got to replace them with something else.
But,
so if you don't mind me asking, whereabouts in your course are you?
So I'm at the very end of my course.
Okay, yeah.
Very sadly leaving. I'm on the 2nd year. But,
very exciting though. You've got everything.
I'm going to miss everything though.
Yeah.
You get really close with the tutors. The lecturers are brilliant.
Yeah.
You really get a sense of community. I've really loved being part of it and being introduced into the gardening, because I started knowing nothing, and 2 years later.
And may I ask you? It's not a personal question, but what led you to horticulture and garden design?
So it's a bit of a sad story. My granddad, before he passed away, got me very much into gardening, he'd take us down the bottom with little like notebooks, and then we'd find a bug and he'd try and tell us what it was and stuff. And then over lockdown and GCSEs, I got quite stressed. I was struggling a lot being in the classroom, and not really feeling very connected. And then I found this course with my mum one day on Sunday afternoon, and I just thought it's got a bit of everything. I love being outside, I love being with plants, I'll just do it. And then I found my thing in design, and here we are.
Well, congratulations. I've listened to you talk to several people today, and it comes out of you really, really naturally. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me on the podcast today. So it's been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next up, I got to see a garden of very much two sides, cleverly designed by the students of Capel Manor College in London. I had the pleasure in catching up with Lizzie, who is a mature horticultural student. This particular garden had two aspects. One north-facing aspect, which was heavily planted with ferns and lush green foliage, focusing around a stumpery which was absolutely glorious. On the flip side of this, a south-facing aspect, an arid, dry landscape made up of succulents, prickly cacti and gravel. Both sides absolutely beautifully executed, with cleverly placed windows allowing you glimpses into the world next door. Well, I'm still at the Solent Gardeners Fair, and I'm with Lizzie from Capel Manor College and your beautiful garden. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the garden and the design and how it came about?
Thanks very much, Ben. The garden is one of the gardens submitted for the college competition. So there are 4 colleges in total, all of whom have developed a garden around a very specific theme given to us by the competition called Nature's Art Within the Garden.
Yes.
That's the theme. So we really, as a group of 15 of us doing the professional gardening diploma, sat and thought, how can we interpret that into a garden? And we ended up with something called aspects of nature. And the aspect we've taken in 2 directions. One is that we've got a garden with 2 aspects.
Yes.
One is north facing, and it's a shady garden.
And that's the side that's in front of us
That
now.
is.
Yes,
And so
very
if you
much
can
so.
imagine it, there's a black wooden backdrop. A wall's about 2 metres high, and set within the walls, we wanted to envisage a sort of a gallery.
Your bug hotels.
There are framed
Richard, my
boxes,
stuff's
as it
there.
were, filled with cuts of wood and moss and ivies, pine cones, cottonwood. And that is a sort of a picture within the gallery, and in front of it we have a stumpery which is filled
I
with...
absolutely love, by the way. I mean, I really, really love using decaying matter in the garden. Not only is it really wonderful for biodiversity and encouraging wildlife into the garden, but I think they're just, in the decay, I think the stumps are just absolutely glorious.
The forms are lovely, and we were able at Capel Manor to just go around the estate and pick up pieces of wood that had been cut down for sustainability purposes, and just use them creatively as shapes within sculpture shapes within the garden. And we also have reflecting within this wall sand, we're calling the birch spiral.
Yes, yeah.
So we've taken lengths of birch trunk, cut them to size, and made a spiral sculpture out of them, which is surrounded by fern planting, tugas and hickories and ivy.
So it all looks really fresh.
It's quite rich and dark and sort of moist feeling.
Yes, it does, yeah. And then on the other side, should we walk
let's go around. Yeah.
Because on the other side, we've got, this is obviously the north-facing aspect.
And there's a little connecting corridor, so you never see both the gardens at once, but you transition from one to the other.
Yeah.
Through a little tiny passageway, and then you come out into a much completely contrasting side, which is the dry side, south-facing sunny garden.
Yeah.
And the backdrop here is our rendered plywood walls, which are pretending to be solid walls. And again, inset is a frame filled with brick and a piece of round earth, which we made in college. We all bought some earth and made this.
This is this piece on the left-hand side.
Yes,
of the
in the wall. Yes,
yeah.
with a sort of
Which
brick
actually, I mean, it looks like a breeze box, doesn't it? But that's actually earth all compacted together.
Yes, it's round earth. It's quite a little challenge to do, but a lot of fun. And also we've got bricks in there, we've got air plants, lichens, sedums, and in front of it a structural architectural wrapper and a crevice garden
which again I haven't seen one of those for a very, very long time.
I think they may be making a comeback.
I think they really should do, yeah. It looks absolutely spectacular. Saxifrage and little phlox and all sorts of arid-loving plants on there.
Yeah, and lots of alpines can go in there. And then similarly to the birch spire on the other side, we've got on this side a gritstone obelisk.
Yeah, I'd call that a monolith.
It is a monolith, yes. And it's coming away from Cornwall, from Carabin stone, the very
is that a piece of white quartz?
It's gritstone.
Okay.
That's right.
Because I have a stone very much like this with a hole drilled in at home, which water comes out the top of in my garden.
So this is deeply embedded below the structure, surrounded by sets and all dressed with gravel. So the contrast is massive between the two sides. And in the far corner, instead of the acer on the other side, we have a callistemon cyprinus.
Yeah, in a corten steel plant, which looks really spectacular against that render.
Yeah.
So how many people did you say were involved?
So there's a group of 15 adult part-timers, students.
And how was it working alongside and designing and conceptualising along 14 other people?
Well, we have some really talented designers. They're not garden designers, but they're working with design in their professional lives. And I think bringing that experience to bear to a space like this is really brilliant. And we were able to work together. We split into 5 teams. We have construction, planting, design, logistics and marketing, communications. And we sort of gravitated to our strengths. And this is what was resulted.
You should all be very, very proud. And how long have you got ahead of you on your course?
We're coming to the end of a 2-year diploma, so we're about to be launched into the world.
And how do you feel about that? Are you feeling ready and confident?
Yes, I'm a key hammer's gardener, so I will take this back and apply what I've learned to my garden, but also my friends' gardens and anyone who's interested in talking to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Thank you very much for your time. The largest garden installation at the show is produced by Hilliers Garden Centres, and I had the pleasure in talking to Emma, who's head of horticulture for Hilliers Garden Centres, about the garden design and concept. This was truly breathtaking and goes to prove that with a little bit of careful planning, a little bit of careful planting and some thought, that in a very normal domestic sized space you can create a multitude of garden rooms with lots of different colour, texture and interest, each space feeling unique and different, but flowing very, very nicely in and out of each other, creating a well thought about and planned space. I'm here with Emma, who is from Hilliers Garden Centres. Now, you're one of the largest sponsors, or the biggest sponsor of the show.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the garden installation we've got in front of it. It's absolutely massive. It's beautifully impressive.
Thank you.
Full of loads and loads of colour and texture. Everything from, I can see, is that a mature apple or a pear tree over to the left?
Yeah, it's a Cox's orange pippin apple from our tree nursery.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the garden is sort of several different areas.
By the daisies, and then should you comfort because they're tiny, will they have any impact?
And that's a beautiful, shocking colour, isn't it? That's it. How are you describing that? We're saying that's going to be a coral pink?
There's lots of colour in gardeners.
Yes.
I actually think it's a really good name.
And almost purple at the tips before it opens, isn't it?
Probably by the autumn.
I'm picking up that really lovely dark leaf euchre nicely as well, and the euphorbia in front of it.
Yeah, I've got some of those. One of my favourite plants. I didn't even know I had them. So they obviously don't need a lot of light. It's not even doing its thing particularly at the moment, but still looks really good.
Now that's a small variety, isn't it? Only getting to a flowering height of about sort of 8-10 inches, is that right?
That's what they're doing. I've actually got a couple of gardens that are probably 2 foot once the flower spikes are fully
What are you feeding them?
Maybe I've just got,
Maybe you've got really good soil.
Really good soil. And,
So we've got the cottage garden section you just talked about with the lupins and the other bits. The apple tree, surrounding that apple tree, is that still the cottage garden section, or is that something else slightly different?
So it's still cottage garden, but with slightly different colours. We've got much calmer, paler colours. colours. So the very soft sort of baby pinks, the whites.
Very much to what I'm that's very much to what I'm drawn to. My palette at home is very pink and very pastel blue, very cool.
So I think it's really important to have that more cooler, calmer colour.
And I have to physically make myself buy the primary colours. I mean, because you can't have a garden without it. So whites and reds and yellows, I really struggle. But to the point where I think sometimes I become a little bit hyper-fixated and I might end up buying too many of them. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we're sort of changing the wheel.
Avoiding like the plate, yeah, because we were going to die.
You only need those kind of,
Even if you sniff it.
Yes, yeah.
Most like South End,
Cooler palette. And then over to the right here, we've got a lovely sort of grove of tree ferns. I mean, I've got two glorious tree ferns at home that are my absolute pride joy. I've also got a pair of ancient olives, so I'm really quite spoiled. And this area, what was the concept behind this? I mean, I'm picking up on sort of a woodland, sort of meadowy vibe from that.
You might have had a day in the sunshine, come through, end of the day, sat on the bench in a shady area, just kind of enjoying.
Because let's face it, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I don't ever get to do. And I think that's for a lot of really keen gardeners, it almost becomes you forget to sit.
We become so involved doing, we forget to
Weeding, tidying, watering,
yeah, absolutely. And actually, and I said to people, oh my God, it doesn't matter what the garden looks like.
Yeah. And I always say to people that follow me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it might be, it's your garden, it's your rules. So if you want to have a go at something, always have a go at something. If it doesn't work, tweak it for next year and have another go.
There's still things that, the work well.
You don't look old enough to do that. I'm celebrating my 30th year in the trade myself this year, and I feel every single moment of it.
The noises that I make whenever I have to get out.
I think that's the key, isn't it? It's the grunty and the old person noise.
Yes, I'd like to go back to those days where I can get up without grunting.
Because the floor seems to be a lot further away than it ever was when I was younger. So how many people were involved in putting this concept together, and how long has it taken? Because it is quite a large space, isn't it? How big is the space in total?
We're so lucky. So, we love big people, so obviously we all have the date.
Yes, yeah.
And then we come out of the office, so literally everybody comes in and enjoys it. We're going to be more, a bit longer, over 4 days, so 4 days. I like to get 4 days coming together, we get 4 hours to take it apart.
Okay. Well, you see, this is my first time at this particular show, but I've been there for the clapdown of sort of Chelsea and Hampton Court. It's brutal, yeah.
It's brutal, isn't it?
The vans roll up, everything comes out the ground, back in a pot.
Absolutely.
The drills come out, and the batteries are all charged. All the hex bolts come out.
That's it. And, really cool. And I'm grateful for this year. We've had a lot of our younger people join us. So it's great to kind of teach them about what's like every plant has a face, what goes well, and some of the interesting things that I would never have thought of putting that into a viburnum right at the front.
Yeah.
I thought you always had to put small plants at the back.
So you haven't seen my garden. My garden's a big mishmash, all over the place.
So important.
To give sort of depth and feeling of space.
Yeah, you need to, what's there,
And
around that corner.
I think with a square concept like this, actually, as you said, it makes it really nice because you've got little glimpses through, and again, you've got another one of those replicated behind, which draws the eye right through. And what's this lovely purple plant that's towering over the back there with that lovely sort of... Okay, yes. So that's the one with a heart-shaped leaf.
That's right.
Yeah.
So doing its thing now in flower on its first day, and it is perfect. Gorgeous heart-shaped leaf. Really good autumn colour. Not
And then the other two concepts that are in, or the other two sort of very distinctive areas in front of us, we've got what looks to be something very arid and low maintenance, involving a lot of gravel.
Absolutely. So
See, Alpine. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Alpine seems to be making a really big comeback on the show this year. Absolutely everywhere.
We've seen that in this
So the 70s are back.
Yeah, well, I think also, there's a lot of talk about climate change, drought tolerant planting,
Yeah.
but also low maintenance planting.
And I think anything we can encourage people to plant in their seas of arid gravel and paving at home, I think is a really good idea.
I get that there's people out there that don't want to spend. I like it.
Oh yeah, God. Yes.
Pollinated, and you can see there's bees all over that already on.
Mexican flea bane, yeah. It does come with a little bit of a caution, doesn't it? Because once it gets going, it can really get going.
I wish it would if I go.
Really?
I think, yeah.
You're treating it too kindly. You're being too
I
nice
kill
to
it with
it.
kindness. Yeah.
And what's the lovely little variegated one behind there with the lovely yellow tips?
It's a Sedum Atlantis.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of one at Chelsea a few years ago, I think.
Okay.
4 years ago. But yeah, again, really great. And it's kind of faded a little bit now, but you can see that the rhubarb I think extends.
Oh yes, yeah, I see, yeah.
The new colours that come through. So, yeah, anything sort of drought tolerant. We did a lot of interest.
Yes, yeah. And then the last section off to the left-hand side, a little bit of lawn there, and a collection of pots.
Yeah, collection of pots to somewhere. I'm going to say the word formal, but it isn't formal.
I mean, it feels to me a little bit more formal, because I suppose it's got the lawn, which I suppose...
Yeah, exactly. But again, although it looks huge, this is only 15 metres by 14 metres.
Yeah. I say this. I say this. We've got what we had one last area in the garden, which we used to keep our chickens in, which was 15 metres by 10.
Yeah.
Our chickens went off somewhere else, and that was the last stand at the garden that we're currently on at home. And yeah, it's about this size, and people they don't seem to think it's particularly big, but I keep saying to people online, this area is pretty much the same as most people's domestic gardens. It looks small in my garden because I've got a third of an acre.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the.
It goes to show, you can get all these little elements. And people that have got smaller gardens can take a little section of what they see and take it home and have a go.
Yeah, because although it's sort of broken down, as you said, into 4 distinctive spaces, the planting all feels very conducive. The colour palette blends beautifully together. You could pick up, not on 4 concepts from here, but dozens of little bits from different angles of what you see. And
That's good for you, exactly what
that's very, very cleverly planted. No, it's lovely. And of course, you guys have got 3 new plants out this year, haven't you, as well, haven't you?
We have, yep. So we have.
They're winging their way onto me. I'm bringing you onto that subject because they're winging their way to me for me to do my plant review thing with over the next couple of weeks.
Let's hope I can remember it.
I was just going to say, have any of those new ones focused in, featured in the
So we've got
planting?
the one. So we've got the Raphiolepis white house, which is the one in
In the
that pot
beautiful
there.
pot just there, yeah.
Really doing its thing. There's no redhead in it.
Yeah, because it is unseasonable. Hopefully you've got your sun.
I guess underneath I take it just like
Yeah, doing really, really well. We then have the rain nugget.
Yes, yeah.
Goals focus on nice
Yeah, very much looking forward to that.
and then third one, I know it's Philadelphia.
I'll put it in the caption, shall I?
I think it's got
I think coming all sorts of. Say anything with enough position anybody believes.
there. So in that case, yeah, it's Philadelphia. Petite pink.
Amazing, brilliant, okay. It's variegated, isn't it?
Glass full.
I've only seen it.
I think it's the first pink Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Very fragrant.
Okay.
So it's still in its kind of twiggy foliage form yet, so I'm yet to see it in its.
Hopefully when it arrives with me it'll be covered in buds and hopefully
It's
it's flowering.
just started. Yeah, I saw it in the nursery about 10 days ago. Yeah, it's just young little plants.
Fantastic. Right, Emma, thank you so much for your time. The concept is
that's been
absolutely
great to talk
beautiful.
to
It's
you.
really, really lovely. And I would suggest people move around it and actually look at it from all 3-4 sides that they can. Get up close and personal because it's an absolute feast for the eyes.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks very much.
Great to
I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. I'd like to take the time to personally thank all of the people that have joined me on today's episode of the podcast and managed to carve out the time in their busy show schedules to talk to me about their gardens. If you managed to get along to the BBC Gardeners World Spring Fair at Beaulieu, I really hope that you enjoy the show and the day out. And if you've missed it this year, don't forget to pop the date into your diary or onto the calendar for next year, and make sure that you carve out the time to visit the show. You will also have to accept my personal apologies for the sound quality. It's very difficult to record these things out in an open space and still achieve a usable quality. I hope you've enjoyed today's bonus episode about the BBC Gardeners' World Spring Fair, and I will talk to you all in just a few short hours with the next scheduled episode of the Gardener Ben podcast. Until then, enjoy the bank holiday weekend and happy gardening.